Now we're live. All right. Hi, welcome to the first On the Dot. It's our new Google Hangout where we're going to bring you monthly updates, tips and tricks with industry experts. We want to make sure you can thrive in the aftermarket, and we want you to learn more about domains. So if you've ever wondered about how to make money on domains or how to make more money on domains, you came to the right place. Today we're going to take an in-depth look at Afternic. We're going to look at how it can help you sell more of your domain names. And if you're not able to view this live, don't worry. We're going to archive it on YouTube, and you can post your comments on YouTube or our Google Plus page, and we will be sure to get back to you. My name is Joe Styler. I'm the Aftermarket Product Manager at GoDaddy, which means, among other things, if you have any ideas or you have any improvements that you can give us for our products, something you think we're missing, please reach out and I'll do what I can to help you. Joining me today is Todd Cantwell and Alan Shiflett. Todd Cantwell is the sales manager for our Afternic team. He's worked for Afternic for over 4 years, and he's got experience in selling millions and millions of dollars worth of domain names. Alan Shiflett is our partner sales manager. He's been with GoDaddy for over 6 years, and he works with some of the aftermarket's top partners. He works with them to help them increase revenue, so his tips for you are going to be a big help. You learn what the big boys are doing to make extra money. And both of them have an intimate knowledge on how to increase your sales, and they're going to help you learn what Afternic can do for you and what some of the best practices are so that you can learn how to drive more sales. With that, I'm going to turn it over to them for this presentation.
Thanks, Joe, and welcome to Cambridge. So today we wanted to go over a little bit about what Afternic is, and then review some tips on how you can maximize your sales velocity and sales on the platform. So first off, what is Afternic? Afternic is the world's largest domain marketplace. We're dedicated to helping connect buyers and sellers. To do that, we try to place our mindset within the mindset of buyers to make sure that we reduce the friction and increase the sales for the sellers. The best analogy I can come up with for Afternic is the MLS system used for houses. As a homeowner, if you wish to sell your house, you get a real estate agent who lists your domain name or your house for sale within MLS, and then it's distributed across a wide network. So if a home buyer goes to Zillow, goes to Realtor.com, looks it up through their Keller Williams agent, they know your house is for sale from that one listing within MLS. Afternic is very similar to this. If you have a domain name you wish to sell, or multiple domain names you wish to sell, you can list it just within the Afternic platform, and it's distributed across an entire network of over 120 partner resellers, ranging from people like GoDaddy, Network Solutions, Hi China, resellers and partners all over the world. Included in this network is over 75 million domain searches each month, meaning your domain name gets the maximum exposure it can when it's listed through Afternic.
Yeah, Alan, I agree. I think the analogy of comparing domain name sales to the real estate industry is a very good one. We're selling internet property, so there's a lot of similarities there. One thing you can take from the real estate industry is that there's some best practices that can be followed to help sell a home. The same can be said about the domain industry. What we want to talk about a little bit today is some best practices that we have discovered that will really help maximize sales when you list through Afternic. So the first thing that you really need to do is, one, is get your names listed at Afternic. You list once, sell everywhere. Second thing you do is get your names priced and placed in the fast transfer network. And then third is to leverage our Afternic sales teams with our for sale banners.
So what we're going to do right now is we're going to break down each of these three as to what we mean regarding them, and go into a little more detail and share with you how it's benefited some of our other clients.
Absolutely. So when it comes to listing domains on Afternic, what you got to look at, again, is from the end user's perspective. Two common ways that an end user is going to go about finding your name is they're going to, for one, is go to what they're familiar with. They're going to go where they've gotten domains in the past, where they have domains hosted. So they're going to look at their registrar, whether it's, as Alan was saying, GoDaddy, Hi China, Network Solutions. That's where you're going to seek out to find your name. When you have your names listed at Afternic, you're going to be found. So it's most important thing to get all your names listed at Afternic so that you can easily be found when someone's looking for them by going to their registrar. So it's very easy to do to get your names listed. Alan, if you could kind of walk us through the process, showing how easy it is to, open up a free account if you don't already have one, and get your names listed on Afternic's platform.
So we're going to go ahead and on the PowerPoint, if you go to afternic.com and you select List Domains, you're given two options. On the left-hand side, you can list up to 50 domains, or what we recommend for most of our domain investors is to download an Excel spreadsheet on the right-hand side. You can open up this Excel spreadsheet, and at this point, you would be able to paste your domain names in here. So if you have 1,000, 2,000, 5,000 domain names, or even 5, you could paste it in here. Fill in the minimum offer section, at which point you would be able to upload it, and it would work. We're going to dive into a little bit later what the buy now price and the floor price is. But for the sake of tip number 1, getting your domains listed within Afternic is as simple as putting the domain name and the minimum offer within there. Within the same document, Excel spreadsheet, we have instructions. Should you have questions, you can hover over each of the columns at the top, and you simply just have to save it as a CSV file within Excel, at which point you'll be able to upload that Excel spreadsheet into Afternic. Literally as simple as that. Once you get that uploaded, usually the domain names go through the Afternic integrity check and get within 24 hours are up and live.
Absolutely. So once you get them listed, then you can start working on increasing your sales velocity by pricing your domain names and getting them into our fast transfer network.
So we know that tip 1 is getting them listed. So even if you don't have prices, there's no need to delay listing them. You maximize your exposure and get them on there as soon as you can. But tip 2, once you have domains listed, as Todd mentioned, is getting them priced and opting them into the fast transfer network. So we want to go over with you briefly why it's important that you should price your domain names in the Afternic system, and then what exactly is fast transfer and how you opt your domain names into it.
So one thing that we found with our sales team is that majority of our sales, over 60% of them on domains that are priced under $10,000 are going to happen within 48 hours. We know that domains, it tends to be an impulse buy. So the importance of getting a price quickly and having a price out there for someone to see is going to help increase your sales. We also do recognize that high value sales can sometimes take a different approach. But with your typical domain that's priced under $10,000, having it priced and getting it out there quickly is going to help increase your sales velocity.
Yeah. At the end of the day, someone goes to a grocery store to buy a product. If there's not prices there, chances of them buying the products is going to be greatly diminished. It's the same when someone's going to a site like GoDaddy, like Network Solutions, they're comparing that domain name to several other domain names. And at that point in time, if the domain is not priced, your chances of selling the domain name greatly diminishes. So it's twofold, both on the inbound sales inquiries and also on the reseller network. This graph here that Todd has on this slide, the close percentage, based on the number of days after the inquiry, where you have the 1 and 2 represent the first 2 days of sales and how high the close percentage is. On day 3, as Todd mentioned, the close percentage significantly drops. That's due to you have a lot of people who find another domain name in that time period. They don't want to wait for pricing. So it's important to have the pricing there from the get-go. So literally the agent can say, okay, let me take your credit card and let's get this purchased right now. At the end of the day, when people price domain names, they're going to make more money. And it's been proven time and time again. This is an example of someone who priced their inventory within the last 6 months or so. So they've been with Afternic for a good 3 or 4 years. They hadn't priced their inventory. They were a little afraid that if they priced their inventory, they would lose money on some sales where they priced at $5,000. Maybe they could have got $8,000 for it. And we had the conversation with them and showed them some of the analytics behind it. And we're able to demonstrate that if you price your domain names, your sales velocity or the rate at which you're selling your inventory will increase to make up for any of those, the minor differences on some of the smaller domain sales. And they were able to quadruple the revenue that they made as a result.
It's made a significant impact on their sales results since going through and pricing their portfolio. And we really believe that if you do the same, we can help you have that same type of impact.
Yep. And this is just an example of one specific customer, but we've seen it time and time again. The Afternic network takes advantage of those people who are going to resellers who are looking to make a purchase. And it's important that you have the domain name priced to take full advantage of that.
Absolutely. So we get a lot of questions of what is fast transfer and really and how it works. So fast transfer is pretty simple. What we have created is it's a system which enables the domain to instantly transfer ownership across registrars when a domain name sells. So similar to when you go out and you register a domain for the first time and it instantly ends up in your account, we have the ability to do the same type of transaction on a premium market domain. So it removes all friction, and there's no pushing the domain, there's no exchanging of authorization codes. It instantly transfers. It's going to provide you the greatest exposure possible when you're opted into fast transfer. There's several larger registrars across the world who will only handle fast transfer enabled domains. They don't want to deal with the whole transfer process. So if it's not in the fast transfer network, they will not list your domain for sale. So it's going to give you significantly more exposure, and it's going to make it a lot easier for you as a seller. Is really no effort for you. Once the domain's in the fast transfer network, it sells, it instantly transfers. There's no work for you to do.
Ultimately, it's pretty simple. You put the domain name in fast transfer, you're reducing the amount of friction in order to get the domain name to the buyer. So someone can click a button and they can instantly have it to them. So one concern that we've heard from other people in the past is if it instantly transfers, what about fraud? So the fraud is handled by the individual registrar. For instance, if it sells at GoDaddy, GoDaddy is verifying that it's a true buyer, that the information is correct, and that the credit card is acceptable, if that's their payment method. They give their okay, and at that point, the domain name transfers. So once everything is done, everything is good, and you can move forward. Meaning fast transfer really accelerates the speed at which you sell domain names.
Absolutely. So how do you get into the fast transfer program? There are some requirements for fast transfer. The first requirement is the domain must be registered with a participating registrar. GoDaddy's one. All the major players are part of this network. If you go to our website, you can see all the different registrars that are there. You can always call us or our service team if you have any questions. The domain cannot be expiring within 30 days or already expired. It would not be eligible. The domain cannot have a 60-day lock on it. Currently, the supported TLDs are .com, .info, .net, .biz, .org, and .pw. We do have a minimum requirement integrity checks that it must pass in order to get into the fast transfer. And then the domain must have a buy now price, and that price must fall between $50 and $25,000 in order to be eligible for fast transfer.
So what our system does is when you upload a domain name, it checks to see if it meets the requirements that are seen on your screen right now. If it meets these requirements, it sends it up for fast transfer opt-in. You get an email that says this domain name has been sent for fast transfer opt-in, and then your registrar has the ability to, your registrar will send you within 24 hours a notice saying Afternic is trying to opt this into fast transfer, and you have to approve it at the registrar level. So,
because it is a transfer, you have to give the authorization through your registrar. So once you list your name with Afternic, it's automatically opted in. If it's eligible, you then will receive notification from your registrar. All you have to do is let them know that you are authorizing it to be on the fast transfer network. So it's very simple.
So what are the advantages for being on fast transfer? Literally taking that extra minutes to opt in fast transfer. Hey, Joe, we're getting a little feedback from your microphone. So what are the advantages for opting into fast transfer? So the average customer will see 10 to 15% increase in their sales by opting into fast transfer. So this chart we have here is a customer who had their domain names registered at GoDaddy. So in September of last year, Afternic and GoDaddy became fully integrated. What that means is customers on GoDaddy who have domain names can opt their names into fast transfer. And we'll dive a little bit more into what happened with the integration a little later. But in this specific case, this customer started opting their domains into the fast transfer network in December and instantly saw a 20% lift. So an average customer will see a 10 to 15% lift, but it's not unheard of to see it be much higher.
So with fast transfer, the next best practice that we have is to utilize our sales team to help. Excuse me, what I wanted to go into here was our pricing. Sorry.
But you need pricing in order to utilize the sales team.
So on Afternic.com, we do have our own terminology that we use, and we thought it would be helpful to kind of explain that in a little more detail. So the first price that you're asked for when you're listing a domain for sale is the buy now price. It's just that. It's the price that a customer will see no matter what site that they're on, that they can physically buy that domain for by simply putting into a shopping cart. So that price is the one that you set, and that's what needs to be set in order to be eligible for fast transfer. The minimum offer is also required field. That is mainly for Afternic.com as well as unpriced GoDaddy auction listings. In order to get this, you have to have a minimum offer. Both of those platforms do have that ability to kind of have an offer back and forth negotiation for the buyer and seller. And in the floor price, that number is a number that only our sales team will see. So that's the lowest amount that you would be wanting to sell that domain for. So, and what it does is it gives our sales team the ability to negotiate a sale and make it happen quickly. We understand that domains, as I said before, it's an impulse buy. Most purchases are going to happen within 48 hours. If we have somebody that's interested, they're making an offer, that floor price gives us the ability to make that negotiations on your behalf and have it happen quickly. Generally speaking, my advice in terms of setting a floor price is to set that at the number that you are happy at selling that domain for, and then put your buy now price typically 25 to 30% higher. And what that does is it gives us that room to negotiate and get them as close to your buy now price as we possibly can, but be able to negotiate and make a sale happen very quickly for you.
So Todd, as an example, as a domain investor, I buy a domain name for $200 on GoDaddy expired auctions. I feel like the domain name is valued $800 more than I acquired it for, so $1,000. How would I go about using Afternic pricing terminology, converting my mindset over into Afternic pricing terms?
So if it was my name, and I would, in number I'd be happy selling it for is $1,000, I would put that as my floor price. I would probably put the buy now around $1,500, and I'd put the minimum offer there at $500. You know, so that way, if somebody has an interest and they want to make an offer and it's at $500, it's be something for you to consider.
Cool. So, tip 1, list your domain names in Afternic. Tip 2, price the domain names and opt them into fast transfer. Once you have that, one of the biggest things that a lot of domainers we've spoken to forget about, and it's one of the most obvious, is putting a for sales banner and leveraging the Afternic sales team as a result. So Todd is actually the manager of the Afternic inbound sales team. So we'll let Todd, if you can dive into what is the Afternic sales team, why would someone want to use you?
So the second most common way that someone's going to find your name, again, whether it's a big business, small business, what they're going to check to see is this name in use. So a lot of times they're going to just type that name into the browser. You see, is a business actively using this domain or is it available for sale? If you don't make it very clear that the domain is for sale, you're going to be losing opportunities for sales. If you don't make it very easy for someone to contact the sales team, then you're going to, again, lose out on opportunities there. So when you utilize our sales team and put our for sale banner on it, we're going to put this banner, as you can see on top, that clearly states that this domain is for sale with our phone number that comes directly into our team. It also has a web lead form that you click on the banner that would bring you to that you can fill out the form with all your information. Now, the biggest thing that our team has is 24/7 coverage. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, there is someone there to handle incoming phone inquiries that will do everything we can to capture that sale for you. second thing is what our sales team does and what we are completely focused on is phone engagement. We know that a domain buyer is 3 times more likely to make a purchase if they're contacted by phone as opposed to email alone. So our team is dedicated to doing everything we can to make phone contact with every lead that comes into us, because we know that our chances of achieving the sale is significantly greater. What we'll do is we'll find out, hey, is this person a dreamer who, as you know, probably thinks every domain is going to cost $10 and do not have a legitimate business plan to support making the purchase, and kind of weed throw those people for you? Or does this person have a true business with a true business plan where this domain can help them get that business to the next level? What we'll do is share our industry knowledge, share comparable sales. We'll build value why this domain is such a smart investment, how it's a forever investment. You know, it's a one-time cost. You're always going to have it. In 10 years, you're not going to look back at how much you spent on this domain. You're going to look back at how great of an investment this was for you. So we know if we can get people on the phone, we can have these conversations, we're going to be much more likely to capture sales from you. And that's all we do all day long, is work the phones to get in touch with as many people as possible.
Yep. I've been with GoDaddy for 6 years. So I was with GoDaddy before they acquired the Afternic team. And one of the big things that was an advantage of the acquisition was getting the experience of those brokers that are there, of the people who literally live and breathe domain names. So huge advantage. It's pretty easy to set up. On the Afternic side, we're decent at providing analytics and comparing your portfolio to how it's doing on the domain lander side to how it's doing on the network. So on this graph here, the average domain portfolio sees 40 to 60% of their sales come from the domain landers. What that means is the other 40 to 60% is going to come through the network. So we can hone in on that 40 to 60% that's coming through the domain landers and focus on driving up that engagement, focus on making sure that if it's down at 25%, what can we do to get it up to that 50% range and even just the 60%? Because we know that there's that revenue there based off of how the portfolio is doing across the reseller network. We know that there's ways to increase revenue by driving all the different engagements in with the marketing flow that Todd's team has set up. So definitely a huge advantage there.
So it's very easy to set up. Right on our site, you can see in order to point to DNS, you just got to point your name service to ns1.afternic.com and ns2.afternic.com. If you have a parking platform that you are comfortable with, that you've been working with, then you can just simply link to our for sale banner. Again, the instructions are right there on our website. Very simple to get your names pointed to us and take advantage of the really strong, talented sales team that we have.
So if you're interested in doing this option, on afternic.com, there's a sell domain section, and you can click on Sales Acceleration, and it lists these options with a how-to on how to do it. We also have an amazing service team that can walk you through it as well. As an example, if you park at work or domain sponsor, it's fairly simple to take that link and paste it in and get a for sale banner up, usually within 15 minutes or so. So other parking platforms as well.
Yeah, and as Alan said, our sales team is there our service team is there to help you out through that as well.
Now, we mentioned this a little bit earlier, Afternic GoDaddy integration. Lots of people have had questions, and it hasn't been fully explained to some people. So we wanted to break it down. What's the benefit for GoDaddy customers, and what's the benefit for Afternic customers? So on the GoDaddy side, by creating the Afternic GoDaddy integration, it allows for GoDaddy domain holders to opt their names into the fast transfer network. So previous to September of last year, it was not fast transfer eligible. So by doing this, if you opt them in, you get that 10 to 15% increase, which we talked about earlier. And then second of all, it gives the ability to manage all your sales listings through one platform. So rather than having to list on GoDaddy Premium, GoDaddy Auctions, list on Afternic, you can list on just Afternic, and it will get distributed to all those platforms, including our network and GoDaddy Auctions. For Afternic customers, the benefit that it gave them is the increased visibility on GoDaddy. Previous to the integration, a fast transfer name would have just shown up as a GoDaddy auction, which has less visibility within the GoDaddy platform. After the integration, a fast transfer opted in name, if someone has their domain portfolio denom and they opted in, it's going to show up on GoDaddy as a premium domain name, meaning it will be in the spun results below for recommendations, as well as a better purchase path for now. It also gives them the ability to manage all their sales listings through one platform as well, whereas previously if you had that portfolio denom, you would be listing in GoDaddy auctions and within Afternic. Now you can just do it in one place.
Absolutely. Definitely makes things a lot easier. So we wanted to share you a couple examples of some customers that have been with Afternic for some time and that have utilized our best practices in the results that they've gotten from that. This one particular customer had a fairly good-sized portfolio, and they came to us several years ago kind of looking for help, saying, hey, what can we do to increase sales? What am I doing wrong that's not selling the number of domains that I feel I should be? I feel I have a good quality portfolio. What can I do better? So we told them about our best practices. Hey, get all of your names listed with us. Get prices on all your names, and utilize our sales team with our banners. They've done so, and what has resulted is a huge increase in sales for them. And in turn, they've been able to reinvest in their portfolio and increase the number of names that they have. Back in 2011, when they were first with us, they had about 24,000 names, and they were doing, I believe it was like $52,000 in sales. Since doing our best practices, they had an instant increase. In this past year, they have increased their portfolio to over 45,000 names, over 40,000 names, and their sales have been over 360,000. So they've had a huge impact by following the best practices that we have told them about. We really feel that we can have that same impact on you as well. So if I could read this testimonial for you here real quick. So ever since I switched the For Sale banner to Afternic 3-ish years ago, is working out nicely for me. I've continued to grow in the domain names I own based on sales that I make. I've increased my portfolio from roughly 24,000 names back in 2011 to an inventory of over 35,000 names currently. As I grow in sales, I can continuously acquire more names. Since linking all of my increase to their sales team, my sales of Afternic have increased from just over 53,000 in 2011 to an all-time high of almost 360,000 in 2014, and I expect nothing less than another record year in 2015, and they are off to another start this year, or midway point this year. So
yeah, it's been amazing to see that as people apply these 3 basic principles, at the success they're able to see. Now, this is an example of a big portfolio, but it applies to smaller portfolios as well. So this is an example of a portfolio. The domain owner in 2011 was looking at going from a full-time job to just being a full-time domainer. And as many of you probably know, that it's a difficult transition to make. You want to make sure that you have everything set up financially to make that jump. So they had the phone call, how can I increase sales? How can I make sure that it's going to be consistent and grow my portfolio? And they started to slowly price their domain names, get them in the fast transfer network, and they started utilizing the for sale team, I believe, last year. So here's what a testimonial he had to say. He said, Afternic has been a great asset to my business. As a one-man operation, I've been able to increase my overall revenue year over year while continuing to grow my portfolio. While I do not have the biggest portfolio, it's been great to work with the best sales team to ensure I am getting the most out of my portfolio. So to us, our end goal is to help you sell more domain names, is to reduce that friction and allow you to focus on doing the thing that you love. For a lot of domainers, acquiring domain names is a passion. And sometimes it's not the easiest thing to turn around and sell those domain names, but we found solutions that help you sell those domain names. And know that as you get them listed, as you price your inventory and opt into fast transfer, and leverage our sales team, that you'll see the same results we've seen with other sellers.
absolutely, and that's our end goal, is just to help you sell more domains and increase your sales velocity on the portfolio and the names that you do have.
Yep. So this is a quick review over what we just spoke about as a sample sales velocity chart. So someone who has 1,500 domains, each portfolio is going to vary based off the quality of domain names, their average sale price. But for the sake of a sample, when you're comparing unpriced to what you could expect priced in fast transfer, it applies to this chart. So in this example, they would sell about 2 domain names per year if it was just unpriced. If they priced the inventory, had it go across just the regular network, they're looking at between 5 and 6 domain sales. Once they opt them in into fast transfer, that bumps up between 6 and 8. And once they start utilizing the for sale banner with the sales team, you're looking at between 10 and 13. So those numbers change obviously depending on the portfolio, but the percentages usually line pretty close. As you slowly start opting in, the percentage increase goes along with it.
So just to kind of, summarize, 1, get all your names listed with us, take advantage of our network. 2, get your names priced and get the names eligible into the fast transfer network. And 3, utilize our sales team for for sale banners, and that's going to help you increase your sales and your sales velocity.
So we're now going to open it up to questions. So any questions you have about Afternic that you want to ask us, if you want to ask us what the Red Sox should be doing to turn around the season, we'd be happy to answer those as well.
Awesome. Let's take a look. So right now there's no questions, so we're just going to give everybody a couple minutes to post those if they have any. Yeah. So go ahead and post away, everybody. Joe, did you have anything that you think would be good to add to this?
Well, I think it was a great presentation. I was surprised to see the sales velocity increase from some of our customers myself when I first started to look at the numbers. So I think that was great to be able to share with everybody. We've seen it from, not just 1 or 2 portfolios, but we've seen it time and time again. So it's really, I think, a good typical example if you follow best practices that you can see your sales increase as well, which is really what we want to drive. And the other thing I'd like to bring up is at the end of this, we're going to share Alan and Todd's email address and also our service address. So if you have any questions that come to your mind after this that you might not think about now, please feel free to reach out. What we want to do is we want to help you sell more names. So if there's some way that we can do it, reach out, and we're going to try and help any way we can.
Awesome. It looks like we did have a couple comments come in. So Stephen K says you guys did a good job, so kudos to you guys.
Thanks,
and
Steve.
then Mike Gilman wants to know, how does SmartName integrate?
So how does SmartName integrate?
Yeah.
So SmartName is the parking platform for Afternic. So when you're porting your domain names to ns1.afternic.com, you're utilizing that parking platform. So I'm not sure if that's the exact question you're asking there, but it's still within the Afternic parking platform.
Okay, awesome.
He probably wants to know about the for sale banner and how you'd integrate that with parking at Afternic.
So can you elaborate the question, Joe?
Yeah, he's probably asking, since one of the tips was to put up this domains for sale banner, how that works with SmartName.
Yep, so it's just right in the dashboard. You select that you want to list it for sale. Pretty simple transition of everything. SmartName and Afternic are the same backend platform. So you want to list your domain names for sale, and the banner shows up.
Cool. Then we have a couple other questions here. So Brock wants to know, what's the best or easiest way to add a newly acquired domain that's already in someone else's account?
In that situation, you want to reach out to our service team, and they'll manually add that to the account. On occasion, some names can switch hands. The old owner may not alert us that it has switched hands, and that's one of the triggers that will cause the name not to get added. So you have to reach out to our service team to do that. We do our best to monitor all of the domains that are listed with us and make sure that the listings are accurate, but that will cost from time to time. We speak of names in some larger accounts to make sure that they are accurate with the number of names we have. We will see that from time to time.
In an ideal world, we do have alerts set up that notify us when someone's trying to add a domain name that's in another account. And we're trying to go through those as constantly as we can. But the quickest and easiest way would be to shoot off an email to service@afternic.com.
Okay. And then Zachary S. wants to know, how long do you recommend waiting before revising prices on unsold domains?
So the interesting question, it depends on how long you've owned the portfolio and how you've done sales on it before. So if you're brand new, you just have a brand new portfolio you've acquired and you've never tried selling it, pricing the domain names can be a difficult task. So if you haven't received any inquiry or any sales in the first 2 months, you definitely want to take a look at it to see what's going on there. If you have priced the domain name before, you've sold it on other platforms, and you're just chinking around with pricing, you can leave it a little bit longer, give it a 3-month, 4-month window, where you're trying to get a full data set to compare it to the next 3 to 4 months after you update pricing.
And I think it has to do with the results that you're getting. If you're selling a lot of domains, you have a pretty good sales velocity, and maybe you want to play around with increasing the pricing. In which case, can I get more for the domains that I'm selling? If it's the reverse, maybe we want to play around with decreasing the pricing. But I think if you're doing all of our best practices, have good quality domains, you're going to know if you have good quality domains one way or the other, because you're either going to be selling them because you haven't priced right, or maybe in the low end, or you're not going to be selling them, which can give you an indication of the quality of your portfolio.
Yeah, I actually had a conversation when I first started Afternic a while back with a customer who had no sales, and he wanted to know why he didn't have any sales. And at the end of the day, we went and looked at how many inquiries he received, how much traffic he received from the part pages and on the reseller network, and there was very minimal. So a different conversation was had of, hey, let's get you with one of our GoDaddy Premier Service reps who can talk about acquiring domain names and talk about which domain names to focus on. He's actually redone the way that he does that, and I've seen a couple sales in the last couple months from him, so definitely working better now.
Awesome. And then so another pricing question from Dan Rubin. What seems to be the sweet spot for bin pricing that triggers the most sales?
Well, at least most of our sales are going to be under 10,000. That would have through the network and to our sales team, but we also will do higher value things as well. Average price would be somewhere between 2,000 and 5,000. Again, it really depends on the domain, the length, the characteristics of it, and the quality. So but I would say between 2 and 5 would be the sweet spot where most of our sales are happening.
2,500 used to be, but when I used to get asked this question all the time, and the answer that I used to give was 1,800. In the last year or so, there's been an increase in the market as far as domain prices, and 2,500 number that I feel right now is the sweet spot for an average domain name. That being said, there's people who price their domains at 1,200 and feel like that's the sweet spot that they should do, and it works perfectly for them. So it varies by portfolio, but 2,500 is the number that I give out in 2 months.
And you can really study the market. There's a lot of resources out there that can tell you what the name's sold for, and when you look at the keywords of the names that you have, what they've sold for, and it gives you a good indication of where you should price it, kind of what the spot is for that particular domain.
Awesome. And then, so we know GoDaddy's a registrar that supports the fast transfer network. Brad Cook wants to know, what if they have a domain under Wild West Domains reseller accounts? Can they put them on Afternic, and would it get listed on the fast transfer network?
Hey, Brad. Yes, certainly. If you list through the GoDaddy resellers. So.
Awesome. And then Mike wants to know, is there a benefit to just list with Afternic, or is it better with SmartName? SmartName has more stats and info. I don't know if that makes sense.
That question specifically applies to parking. Technically, when you list it through Afternic, if you want to send me an email, I can follow up on this. I'm more of an expert on accelerating domain sales than necessarily the parking side. But from my understanding, you should be able to access both platforms, the smartname.com and the afternic.com, once you park it with Afternic. But if you could send me an email, I can follow back up with you.
Cool. And we'll have that email address available at the end for you there, too. And then Josh Sexton wants to know, does Afternic have plans to publicly publish sales prices again, as you did up until last year? And then the second part is there a site redesign planned for the future?
Hey, Josh. As far as I know right now, we don't plan on publishing sales, but that could change. And as far as Afternic redesign, we're constantly looking at feedback, but I'm not aware of a full redesign on Afternic. There's concentrations being made on the GoDaddy side to improve some of the processes that we have over there, and to make it easier for people to get their domains listed. So stay tuned. Hopefully in the next 10 to 12 months, we'll have some news on that side.
Awesome. And then it looks like all the questions that have come in so far. So if you have other questions, guys, feel free to continue to post them on the page or YouTube. We'll follow up. Otherwise, Alan, Todd's, and the service team's contact information is up on the screen, so feel free to reach out to them, with other inquiries or how to get set up and going. So with that, thank you, Alan. Thank you, Todd. Appreciate you guys' time. I know it definitely helped out a lot of people, and thank you, Joe. And we'll see you on the next Afternic Hangout, guys.
All right, thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks.
Bye.